Mustache Mark, the multiverse's most pathetic Invincible variant. Across the vast and brutal Invincible multiverse, every Mark Grayson variant carries some level of respect, fear, or at least competence, even the evil ones. But then, there's Mustache Mark, a character so laughably useless, he's become a running joke among fans. Mustache Mark is what happens when overconfidence meets zero self-awareness. In his universe, he fully embraced his Viltrumite heritage, proudly wearing the mustache as if that alone made him a warlord. To him, his Viltrumite bloodline was an automatic victory card. He didn't bother learning tactics, adapting his skills, or studying his opponents. He thought power alone would do the talking, but the universe had other plans. His moment of epic failure came in a confrontation with Tech Jacket, a character often seen as a sidekick in the Invincible storyline. Mustache Mark made a dramatic entrance, ready to crush what he saw as an inferior human in a suit. Yet, within minutes, Tech Jacket completely dismantled him. This wasn't just a loss, it was a galactic beatdown. His body torn up, his fingers shattered, and his Viltrumite pride left in the dirt. What made it even more embarrassing? Unlike our main Mark, who learns and grows from every setback, Mustache Mark didn't. There was no redemption arc, no tactical adjustment, no cunning villainy in his playbook. He was a one-trick pony who couldn't even land that trick. Fans across the multiverse now mock him as the biggest failure of any Invincible variant, a cosmic-level punching bag who proved that raw power means nothing without brains behind it. In the grand gallery of Mark Grayson variants, where some are ruthless conquerors, others tragic anti-heroes, Mustache Mark stands alone as a warning, a cautionary tale of what happens when arrogance replaces preparation, and how even the most gifted can become the galaxy's biggest joke. At the end of the day, Mustache Mark serves one purpose, showing us that embracing the Viltrumite way doesn't automatically make you a threat. It might just make you an overconfident fool. And that's why Mustache Mark isn't feared, he's pitied. Tracksuit Mark, the most depressing variant in the Invincible multiverse. Out of all the Mark Grayson variants scattered across the Invincible multiverse, there's one who doesn't inspire fear, laughter, or even anger. Instead, he just makes you feel bad. Meet Tracksuit Mark, a version of Invincible that's not terrifying or incompetent, just tragically broken. Unlike his Viltrumite-driven counterparts, Tracksuit Mark didn't go full warrior. He didn't try to conquer planets or destroy enemies. Instead, he gave up. Crushed by guilt, trauma, and failure, this Mark wears a worn-out tracksuit like a uniform of surrender. His costume's gone. His fire's gone. He walks through his ruined world like a ghost, haunted by everything he couldn't stop. What's left of his Earth is a shadow. Most of the people he loved are dead. His version of Adam Eve, gone. His family, torn apart, and he blames himself for all of it. Unlike other Marks who rage or rise from loss, Tracksuit Mark just stagnates. And that's what makes him so disturbing. He's not a villain. He's not a monster. He's what happens when a hero completely breaks, mentally, emotionally, spiritually. Every line on his face shows the weight he carries. His tracksuit isn't laziness, it's mourning, a symbol that this Mark has stopped being invincible. In a haunting way, Tracksuit Mark serves as a what-if scenario for the original Mark Grayson. What if our Mark failed just one too many times? What if he lost one more person, made one more mistake, and couldn't get back up? Tracksuit Mark reminds us that superheroes aren't bulletproof on the inside, that behind the powers and titles, they're still human. And sometimes, when the world shatters enough, even the strongest just give up. He doesn't fight anymore. He doesn't hope. He just survives. And in a multiverse full of world destroyers and cosmic tyrants, Tracksuit Mark is somehow the most devastating, because he's not evil, he's empty. And maybe that's the scariest fate of all. Prisoner Mark, the variant who lost everything, including himself. In a universe filled with gods, tyrants, and intergalactic warriors, most versions of Mark Grayson stand for something: justice, rage, conquest, survival. But then there's Prisoner Mark, a tragic shell of Invincible, locked away both physically and emotionally. This version of Mark doesn't wear a cape, he doesn't fight for Earth, he doesn't even fight back. Instead, he rots inside a cell, imprisoned by forces beyond his control, tormented by memories of a past he can't fix. His hands, once used to save lives, are now chained, not just by steel, but by guilt, shame, and trauma that cut deeper than any weapon ever could. So how did he get here? In his timeline, Mark failed. spectacularly. His Earth was ravaged by Viltrumite war, his loved ones gone, his reputation destroyed. In trying to do the right thing, he made a choice that backfired catastrophically, leading to global devastation. The world blamed him, and the worst part, he agreed with them. They didn't just lock him up, he let them. What makes Prisoner Mark so haunting isn't just his physical confinement, it's the emotional surrender. He doesn't scream for justice or plot escape. He sits in silence, broken, as if he's already dead inside. And when visitors come, usually from other universes, they don't see a hero. They see a cautionary tale. This is the Mark who never got back up, the one who accepted the bars, the sentence, the guilt. No redemption arc, no rebellion, just a man who once had the power to shape worlds, now fading into irrelevance in a dark, forgotten corner of the multiverse. But here's the chilling part. He might be the most realistic variant of all. Not every hero wins. Not every Mark finds the strength to keep going. Some break, some surrender, some spend the rest of their lives replaying the moment they lost everything. And Prisoner Mark, he's what happens when the weight of being invincible finally becomes too much. Goggleless Mark. The most ruthless, unrecognizable version of Invincible. There's something unsettling about seeing a hero without their symbol. No suit, no colors, no mask, no goggles. That's what makes Goggleless Mark so terrifying, because once those iconic goggles are gone, so is the Mark Grayson we thought we knew. This version of Mark isn't a hero. He's not conflicted, not hopeful, not trying to save anyone. He's a stripped down, raw force of brutality, completely disconnected from his past ideals. Goggleless Mark isn't trying to protect Earth. He's not trying to redeem himself. He's just trying to survive and destroy anything in his way. In his universe, Mark witnessed one betrayal too many. A catastrophic loss finally snapped something inside him. He took off the goggles, the very thing that symbolized his connection to humanity, and never looked back. The moment he dropped them, he stopped pretending to be anything other than what Viltrumites were bred to be, a conqueror. He doesn't talk much, he doesn't explain, he acts fast, violently, efficiently, whether it's allies, enemies, or anyone who crosses his path. Goggleless Mark eliminates obstacles with a terrifying calm, and unlike Mustache Mark, who failed pathetically, or Prisoner Mark, who gave up entirely, Goggleless Mark succeeded. He survived. He dominated. And that's what makes him so disturbing. He's proof that Mark Grayson doesn't have to lose to become a monster. Sometimes winning is what corrupts him most. Other variants fear him. He doesn't fight with emotion. He fights like a machine. No hesitation, no weakness, no second guessing. Just raw, calculated violence. And the worst part, there's no sign of redemption. No hint that he regrets anything. In some timelines, he's become a warlord. In others, a ghost that even Viltrumites whisper about. Wherever he goes, he brings silence. The kind that comes after total annihilation. Goggleless Mark isn't just a dark reflection, he's a warning, a glimpse of what happens when all the hope, humanity, and heart are stripped away from Invincible, and only the power remains. When the goggles come off, the soul goes with them. Mohawk Mark, the wild card of the multiverse. Out of every Mark Grayson variant in the Invincible multiverse, one feels the most unpredictable, the most unhinged, and the most chaotic. His fists move faster than his thoughts, and his mohawk isn't just for show, it's a warning. This is Mohawk Mark, and he's the wild card nobody sees coming until it's too late. This Mark didn't evolve through guilt like Tracksuit Mark. He didn't turn cold like Bald Mark or break like Prisoner Mark. Mohawk Mark snapped and then leaned into the madness. Something happened in his timeline. Something bad. And instead of processing it like a hero, he exploded emotionally, physically, and morally. He shaved the sides of his head, gave himself a warhawk, and declared open war on everything. Governments, alien races, other marks, you name it. And the scariest part, he's not doing it out of some grand plan. He's doing it because it feels right. He fights with raw emotion, rage, grief, adrenaline, not strategy. He's explosive, reckless, and brutally efficient. In one universe, he took down a Viltrumite war fleet solo, not with precision, but sheer ferocity. He's like a storm you can't predict and definitely can't control. But here's where it gets interesting. Mohawk Mark isn't stupid. Beneath the chaos is someone who knows exactly what he's doing. He plays the fool, acts like he's impulsive, but it's all part of a deeper rage-fueled clarity. He knows the systems are broken. He knows peace is a lie. So he decided to burn it all down, one battle at a time. Other Marks try to fix the world. Mohawk Mohawk Mark wants to rip it apart and rebuild it from the ashes, if there's anything left. He's the kind of variant even Viltrumites approach with caution, because you can't negotiate with him, you can't predict his next move, and worst of all, you can't scare someone who's already lost everything and has nothing left to protect. Mohawk Mark isn't a hero, a villain, or a soldier. He's a one-man uprising, a walking middle finger to the entire multiverse. And if you ever see that Mohawk coming toward you, you're already too late. Bald Mark, the cold strategist who stopped being human. Among the wildest Mark Grayson variants across the Invincible multiverse, one stands out not because he's the most violent, but because he's the most calculated. No costume, no hair, no emotion, just ice-cold logic. This is Bald Mark, and he might be the scariest version of Invincible you've never heard of. This isn't the Mark who rushes into battle with hope. This isn't a man driven by love, loyalty, or even vengeance. This is a tactician, one who's done pretending to be human. In Bald Mark's universe, the chaos never stopped. War after war, betrayal after betrayal, until he realized something chilling. Emotion was a weakness, so he cut it all out. He didn't just shave his head, he shed everything that made him soft. No more friends, no more trust, just pure Viltrumite efficiency. And the results? Terrifying. Bald Mark doesn't lose because he doesn't gamble. He studies his enemies, dismantles their alliances, and strikes before they know he's coming. While other Marks wrestle with morality, Bald Mark plays chess with entire civilizations. He's been known to conquer planets without lifting a finger, just by outsmarting their defenses, manipulating their leaders, and leaving them no choice but surrender. No speeches, no mercy, just dominance. But the most disturbing part? He believes he's still the good guy. In his mind, peace only comes through total control. He's not out for revenge or chaos. He thinks he's saving the galaxy by ruling it. And unlike other cold villains, Bald Mark doesn't gloat. He just calculates the next move, adapts, and eliminates threats without hesitation. He's not flashy, he doesn't crave recognition, but his version of Invincible might be the most unstoppable, not because of brute strength, but because he's already done the math. And you're not in it. If Mustache Mark was arrogant and Tracksuit Mark was broken, Bald Mark is just empty, a brain with fists, a warlord with no soul left to lose. And in the end, maybe that's the most dangerous Mark of all. Flaxan Mark, the conqueror who switched sides across the Invincible multiverse. There are countless versions of Mark Grayson, some broken, some ruthless, some tragic. But Flaxan Mark is something entirely different. He didn't just survive another world, he became its king. In this timeline, the Flaxans, that time-dilated alien race obsessed with conquest, didn't just fail during their attacks on Earth. Instead, they won. They captured Mark Grayson, dragged him through a time-warped hellscape, and kept him locked away in their accelerated dimension. But instead of killing him, they studied him. And that's when things change. Time in the Flaxan realm moves faster. Decades pass in days. While mere moments passed on Earth, Mark spent years enduring torture, interrogation, and ultimately indoctrination. Slowly, his connection to humanity faded. Slowly, he began to understand them. And finally, he took control. He didn't escape. He overthrew. Flaxan Mark is a war-forged version of Invincible who adapted to survive in a brutal, unforgiving empire and eventually bent it to his will. He carries the scars of years locked in a world designed to break him. But instead of shattering, he became stronger, meaner, smarter. And now he returns not as Earth's protector, but as the Flaxan's deadliest weapon. Unlike other variants, Flaxan Mark doesn't scream or rage. He's cold, efficient, almost mechanical in his leadership. His decisions are ruthless, calculated, and driven by a warped sense of justice forged in alien fire. He believes Earth had its chance, and it failed. Now, it's time for order. Flaxan order. But here's the twist. He's not evil in the traditional sense. He genuinely thinks he's saving the galaxy by uniting it under one empire. He isn't seeking revenge. He's enforcing peace, even if it takes planetary enslavement to do it. Flaxan Mark is what happens when Invincible is broken, reprogrammed, and reborn as a conqueror with purpose. He's not angry anymore, he's focused, and that makes him far more dangerous than any villain Earth has ever faced. Longhair Mark, the warrior who stayed in the fight too long. Some Mark Grayson variants burned out, others gave up, but Longhair Mark, he just kept going. In a brutal timeline where war never stopped, not with the Viltrumites, not with Earth's enemies, not even with himself. This version of Mark didn't retreat, didn't break, and didn't die. He just endured. His hair, once trimmed and neat like the Invincible, Invincible we know now falls in heavy, unkempt waves, a symbol of how long he's been on the battlefield. He wears his weariness like armor. This Mark doesn't fight for glory or even for justice anymore. He fights because there's no one else left, and stopping isn't an option. Long-hair Mark has spent decades in constant battle, traveling between worlds, leading desperate coalitions, and facing cosmic threats that would leave most heroes shattered. He's fought so long, he's forgotten what peace even feels like. In many universes, he's a myth, a lone warrior who appears when all hope is gone, delivers victory, and vanishes into the stars. But here's the truth. He's tired. You can see it in his eyes. He's not the same idealistic young man who tried to balance high school with saving the world. He's older now, harder, sharper. His morality has been carved down to something simpler. Protect the innocent, end the threats, no matter the cost. He's made impossible decisions, sacrificed allies, lost versions of Eve he couldn't save. There's blood on his hands, not because he turned villain, but because he stayed a hero long after it stopped being clean. And yet, he never stops. Long-hair Mark is a version of Invincible forged entirely in fire. Not broken, but weathered like a sword used in 1,000 wars. He's what our Mark could become if every tragedy stacked up, but he never gave himself time to heal. No therapy, no rest, just endless battle. In a way, he's the most loyal Mark there is. Loyal to the fight, to the mission. But at what cost? Because in every universe, heroes have a breaking point. And Long-hair Mark, he's dangerously close. When the war never ends, what's left of the man who keeps fighting it?